Have you ever bought a game for a totally different game? I'm talking about times where you intentionally purchased something because it included, unlocked, or otherwise facilitated you getting to play an entirely different, much more preferable title. I just did this to play TimeSplitters 2 inside Homefront: The Revolution, and that's as ridiculous as it sounds. TimeSplitters 2, however, is worth a few coins to experience its damn level in 2020. Anyway, thankfully the whole pay full price for X to get demo of Y doesn't happen all that often anymore, but the idea of buying one game to access another comes in various permutations. I'm Scott from WhatCulture.com, and these are 10 times you bought the wrong video game intentionally. Number 10. Buying Call of Duty Infinite Warfare for Modern Warfare Remastered. If you think fans are annoyed that Modern Warfare 2 Remastered is a timed exclusive now, you might have forgotten the utter disdain expressed when Modern Warfare Remastered was announced as a pack-in with Call of Duty Infinite Warfare. At the time, it was a monumental mistake. Infinite Warfare was already being received as warmly as a downed server at a midnight launch, amassing one of the biggest dislike bars in YouTube history. And Modern Warfare Remastered had been sought after for years. Combined, you had a recipe for sheer hatred. Call of Duty's direction at the time seemed to embrace sci-fi and even the supernatural, with the perfect remedy being boots on the ground gameplay, and yet we couldn't access it separately. In the end, Activision ate a big ol' slice of humble pie and eventually sold Modern Warfare Remastered by itself 1 year later, giving it away on PS Plus in March 2019, before the reboot of the series became the best Call of Duty ever. Sometimes it pays to just do exactly what people clearly want. Number 9. Buying Strider 2 for Strider Remastered. Strider is one of Capcom's strangest franchises. Each release seems to have a completely different direction, right down to the protagonist Hiryu, a ninja from a dystopian future who sometimes looks like an anime anti-hero, and sometimes, like on the Mega Drive's Western covers, kinda looks like Michael Flatley, Lord of the Dance. Strider's sequel appeared on the PlayStation to very little fanfare, mostly down to going with a 2.5D aesthetic at a time when we were thoroughly blown away by all things 3D. Something that turned fans' heads though was a full remaster of the original game, the best version of that title to date. Collectors cottoned onto this and started hoarding the newer 2-disc set, increasing its rarity and annoying people even more. To this day, some eBayers are still selling £70 bundles even if the Strider 2 disc is nowhere to be found. Number 8. Buying Star Fox Zero for Star Fox Guard. Nintendo love channeling their roots as a toy manufacturer, creating all manner of hardware and interactive physical objects that walk the line between truly innovative and straight up gimmick. Star Fox Zero was one of the latter, where core gameplay was made so much worse in order to sell the Wii U's gamepad functionality. As a result, most gamers, even the most ardent fanboys, to which I totally am one for Star Fox, found this 2-screen format to be more of a nuisance than anything progressive. Thankfully though, nabbing Star Fox Zero got you a copy of Star Fox Guard, a tower defense game with some really cool and clever dual-screen implementation. Your TV would show an array of surveillance footage from different perspectives while you controlled a bird's-eye view on your tablet, managing units one by one. It's about as Star Fox as Zelda, but this strange add-on, very much discussed as its own Star Fox game, was thankfully sold separately a few months later. Number 7. Buying R-Racing for Pac-Man Vs. Here's a fun fact. Until 2015, Namco owned the patent for playing games inside other games' loading screens. It's why Ridge Racer let you play Galaxian while it was booting up, and honestly, it was just the coolest thing ever when I was younger. Game devs, why the hell haven't you put more minigames in your loading screens? Anyway, I mention all of this because the concept went next level when Namco released R-Racer, a Nintendo-focused spin-off to Ridge Racer, adding asymmetric multiplayer bonanza Pac-Man Vs. Nintendo was experimenting with the Game Boy Advance link cable at the time too, and Pac-Man Vs was a 5-player game where 4 people played as the ghosts with restricted vision on the TV, whilst another used their own Game Boy Advance screen to play as Pac-Man. Honestly, how cool is that? Maybe I'm easily impressed, but no, how cool is that? This meant that the ghosts needed to coordinate and communicate in order to actually catch Mr. Man himself. And many Pac-Man fans, or humans living life right, picked up R-Racing with zero intention of actually driving anything. Number 6. Buying Pokemon Channel for Pokemon Mini and Jirachi. Pokemon Channel is a fascinating package. Hailed as the ultimate disc of goodies for Pokemon fans, itemizing the reasons to own it is like listing off reasons to staple your genitals. The Pokemon Company must have been aware of its dubious value though, as when it arrived as a GameCube exclusive, the main selling point was that it also came with rare psychic legendary Pokemon Jirachi, to use on handheld Pokemon games instead. Pokemon Channel was like this weird game-based TV channel that you were loading into, and besides the Pichu Brothers cartoon that rolled out a new episode every day, chances are you just picked it up for Jirachi, some half-baked e-reader cards, and also Pokemon Mini. Pokemon Mini was Nintendo's attempt at a separate game console used solely to play Pokemon-specific games in 2001. Pokemon Channel includes a digitally emulated version of this device, and given that the console was very difficult to find even back then, fans bought Channel as a next best thing solution. A Pokemon Mini will cost you around £200 on eBay today, or you could just track down Pokemon Channel instead. Number 5. Buying Metal Gear Solid for the Silent Hill demo. It's hard to imagine a world where Metal Gear Solid and Silent Hill are unknown franchises, and yet these Konami-owned behemoths of the game industry were once considered gambles. Games where reputations and bank balances were at stake in equal measure, before both the PlayStation console and brand took the world by storm. Metal Gear came in a chunky 4-disc case, but hiding inside that last slot was a demo for the upcoming alleged scariest game ever made. In the late 90s, magazines referred to Silent Hill as an adult revolution in horror, and word at the time was that it was actually going to be banned in the UK for being too damn scary. So when Metal Gear Solid ended up reviewing extremely well, it came as a huge relief to horror fans everywhere that pre-ordered Snake's first PlayStation outing, as they also got a taste of Silent Hill. Number 4. Buying Zelda: A Link to the Past for Zelda 4 Swords. As we're currently living in the era of the remake, it's clearer than ever that nostalgia is bankable AF. Still, this remaster era is not unique to the modern day. Back in 2002, the handheld re-release of A Link to the Past caused quite a stir. Those not looking to rekindle one of the best Zelda games of all time noticed a little title called 4 Swords alongside, the very first multiplayer Zelda. These spin-off titles have gone on to accrue a divisive reputation, but at the time, a game in which rival Links competed for rupees and attempted to solve puzzles together sounded pretty damn cool. 4 Swords was a modest first attempt and spawned a fuller sequel, 4 Swords Adventures, then later Triforce Heroes, each building on the fundamentals. Playing Zelda with a friend amidst the Game Boy Link cable boom no less was just badass, until they stole all your rupees and smashed the pot you were trying to smash anyway. Number 3. Buying Star Wars Rebel Strike for classic Star Wars arcade games. Star Wars games are kind of the only Star Wars anything that I care about anymore, but even back in the 2000s, before Disney shit the bed and made you look at it, we were blown the F away by Rogue Squadron on the GameCube. Even now, a decade and a half later, it's extremely impressive to look at. However, its more ambitious sequel, Rebel Strike, attempted to do much more. Including on-foot sections, speeder bike chases, and those still gorgeous graphics, the fun was spread a little too thinly, with dogfighting being relegated to every other level. Developers Factor 5 had an ace up their sleeve though, including all the original Star Wars arcade games. Unbeknownst to them as well, these cleaned up classics were more than just a bonus to some collectors, who still say that they are the superior way to enjoy such early vector-based 3D adventures. Also, shout out to the arcade cabinet version of Star Wars the arcade game. That fully movable mini cockpit and joystick combo is full-on chef's kiss. Number 2. Buying Zone of the Enders for the Metal Gear Solid 2 demo. Feeling like one of those games that we all go, oh yeah, that thing happened, Zone of the Enders was Hideo Kojima's other franchise across the 2000s. A fast-paced anime game that featured mech pilots, a whole bunch of screaming, and massive mech wangs that I, as a kid, just did not notice. Seriously, look at those wangs. Now that is a cockpit. Anyway, those who couldn't tell their Gundam from their Evangelion were quick to pick up the title for a different reason altogether. It came with what felt like Christ himself in disc form, the demo of Metal Gear Solid 2 Sons of Liberty. Literally the most hotly anticipated blockbuster follow-up to anything ever. I totally splurged a few months worth of pocket money just to play one section of the full game. Gaming magazines at the time did double-page spreads on this thing, diving into the first-person aiming, new ways to hide, how to make the glass shatter in that one room, melt some ice cubes, open magazines, or how to unlock the FAMAS rifle. The latter didn't even make it into the game, and this was such a large chunk of what would become Metal Gear 2's overall footprint that we played it over and over and over. With both this and PT, Hideo Kojima might have given us the best demos of all time. And thankfully, in the latter's case, we didn't have to pay for it. And number 1, buying Crackdown for the Halo 3 beta. Sometimes you look back on this stuff and it's no wonder the industry is as money grubby as it is. They've been experimenting with all sorts of nefarious cash hoarding schemes for years. Step onto the stage Microsoft's version of the Zone of the Enders / Metal Gear Solid 2 scenario, but with a time-limited beta for a multiplayer that had probably expired by the time you picked up a copy. Still, it helped Crackdown sell like wildfire, and after Halo 2 had ended so disappointingly, fans were chomping at the bit to see what was next. Back then, Bungie were on the form of their careers as well, and any mention of dual spikers or brute shots was the sweetest nectar on earth. God, I miss the days of Halo shutting down Times Square because people just wanted to stop and drink it in. And of course, yes, it totally sucked that in the end, the only way to play Halo 3 early was to nab a copy of Crackdown. Thankfully, Crackdown itself is a great game, but those early sales figures were definitely overinflated by this ridiculous quote-unquote deal. And those are just some times that you had to bite the bullet to fire the gun. Let me know which other titles you didn't want but picked up anyway down in the comments, and check out the WhatCulture Gaming Podcast. For now, I've been Scott from WhatCulture.com, and I'll catch you soon.